panelists, you already saw them just a second ago. Republican strategist Spencer Sullivan is here, and Democratic strategist Shelley Mark. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Happy to be on.
Spencer, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about the winners and the losers for this week. I mean, I know there's a lot of different topics to cover. With the winners or losers, let's start with the Republicans, the Democrats, or the American people. Let's start.
I think it's the American people and the Republicans.
Which are what? The winners or the losers?
The winners. I think the tax reform plan. I mean, the nonpartisan tax policy foundation came out and said 80% of Americans are going to get a tax cut here, right? Not only beyond that, right? The average family is going to get knowledge back, that the standard deductions doubled, the child tax credit is doubled, and we have even seen businesses come out and give bonuses and announce investments, millions and billions of dollars of investments into the economy, which are only going to grow wages in this tight labor market that we see here. So I think, unfortunately, not one single Democrat voted for this bill, but Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer couldn't get corporations or business to do anything without mandating them. And here we have the free market working at its best.
Let me get your Democratic response on that.
Well, quite frankly, I feel like this tax reform bill is really for the wealthy. I mean, I don't think it's going to trickle down to the working class, the middle class, and the low-income individuals. So we'll just see what happens. But right now, I would definitely say this is a win for the wealthy.
What do you think? I want to get both of your takes on this. How do you think this will play, though, coming in the 2018 midterms?
I think even come
there?
February, and even as people get their paychecks, they're going to see that their paychecks are growing. But not only that, you see there's a very tight labor market here that I mentioned. And Boeing, who announced $300 million into investments, right? $100 million are going to go into the workers. The workers are middle-class families, working-class families. And Boeing understands this because guess what? They know there's going to be a bidding war for employees, right? And that's only going to grow wages. When wages grow, middle-class family, working families make more money. So not only are they going to save more money with the standard deduction, the child tax credit, but their wages are going to grow because of this.
To play devil's advocate for just a second, we're talking about the growth among corporations. Right now, realistically, a lot of these corporations are sitting on top of a ton of cash. They haven't been, you know, hiring more workers. They haven't been supporters of upping the minimum wage. So why now, all of a sudden, do you think this is going to make a difference?
Because these corporations know, under former President Obama, they didn't know whether it was going to get better or worse. Now under President Trump, regulations have been repealed. They have a predictor, they have stability, they have a permanent future where they know that they can be competitive now on the world stage. For the first time in a very long time, these corporations, American businesses, are competitive on the world stage.
I mean, these are the same businesses that already had money, so they're basically keeping amongst themselves. Now that they're deciding to trickle this down to their same employees, that doesn't mean it's going to trickle down to the rest of the working class and the low-income individuals that are still going to be suffering.
And last point here, right? So for companies that are going to offer dividends and buybacks, right? The stock market's growing, pensions are growing. Years ago, we heard how these pensions were short-funded. We don't hear that anymore, right? Because the stock market is fulfilling these pensions growth on the back end. So even though middle-class Americans may not be owning stock, their pensions, their 401ks, police officers, firefighters, are going to feel the benefit of this because their pensions are now being funded by the stock market.
Let's talk a little bit now, move on to the UN vote to reject the president's push for the Jerusalem being the Israeli capital. What was your take on, especially what Ambassador Haley had to say, kind of in a sense threatening to pull funding in the future for the UN, saying, you know, we're going to remember this day. Give us your take on that.
Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? The President Trump, Nikki Haley, the United States are not going to back down to the UN for doing something that's well within the United States' right to do. Only in D.C. do you have Congress or presidents to vote to do something, but then don't do it, right? President Trump followed through will be moving this embassy, right? The UN is famous for printing out or voting on these non-binding pieces of paper resolutions that don't mean much, right? But really, the only thing that really protects this world, the only thing that really protects the UN is the U.S. military, and that's going to continue to happen.
Shelley, was this a good move or a bad move?
I think that it definitely shows, the UN showed us that our policies affect the whole world. So it's interesting that they decided to not support Trump, and hopefully the current White House will see and kind of look at their decisions differently.
We don't have much time left, but I want to ask you real quick, Shelley, let's start with you. The government voted to, we averted the shutdown, but it did not address many of those issues like DACA, health care, some of the budgetary issues moving forward. What do you think are going to be the big things that Congress needs to focus on once they return?
I mean, they definitely need to focus on DACA. Right now, this solution is a 5-week Band-Aid that they've currently put on everything. So, I mean, they have to continue to do their jobs, which they still haven't done. They kind of just extended the time by a month.
I would also add in CHIP funding, right? CHIP funding has been extended. But even funny enough, Mitch McConnell has given the Democrats a 5-year fully funded CHIP program that they denied for whatever reason, right? So they going away in the holidays, they have some negotiations to get back to. But I think we need to put partisan politics aside, especially when it comes to funding for children's health insurance program.
Absolutely. All right, both of you guys, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Thanks so much for coming in tonight. Yes. All right.